Am I live? I'm live. What's up, fam? I'm going to do a double live today. So, in a bit, I'm going to bring on the Instagram fam. But I'm going to do YouTube is always like my warm up. Today, we're going to talk about something a little hard. And it's fine. Hard is fine. And it's really been on my heart to talk about this because just in the everyday real life, not even online, but through DMs, through talking to people that I know, talking to my sister, there's just been so much healing with forgiving our mothers. And I think that we need to talk more about that because it's so hard. It's not something that's easy to do. People have different reasons why they do need to heal that relationship with their mothers, whether she's alive or not. It's still something that we need to do for ourselves. And so I'm going to talk more about that. I've been doing everything I could to avoid it. I've cleaned the house to, till it's sparkly clean, and I've organized things. I've made things. I've made pillowcases. I've done so many other things besides talk about this, and it's because I don't want to. It's because I didn't want to. So now that we're getting warm up, I think it's time to bring on the next audience. Let's see if they're ready for this. Because it is Wellness Wednesdays. Okay, good. So this one is working, and I'm just going to get into it. And the good thing is, too, with this, I'll have my audio. So it's also going to be on the podcast. But happy Wednesday, everybody. It is Wellness Wednesdays, and I did promise to talk about forgiving your mama. We've been talking about that for like a week, and I have been skipping all the way over it, been avoiding it. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in this live is the things that we do. Hi, Dwayne. Hi, Mr. Shaw Smith. One of the things that we do is aversion. We avoid those thoughts. We avoid really addressing the feelings, the true feelings and emotions that we have behind the relationship with our mothers. And I'm specifically talking to those of us that need some healing in that relationship. It's not, a whole relationship. There's either been disconnection, just lack of relationship for so many reasons. And Mother's Day is coming up, y'all. And this is the first Mother's Day where I'm not only going to really celebrate it, I've always celebrated in some way, but I'm going to go into this Mother's Day feeling a little lighter. And part of the reason I feel a bit lighter is really talking about forgiving your mother so much with other people that I'm like, I have done some forgiving. And I'm so happy that I have, and realizing what I was holding on to, before. And I read a comment that said, what if she doesn't deserve to be forgiven? And that's something that will keep a lot of us from forgiving, right? What if the other person doesn't deserve to be forgiven? That's not, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you, right? It's the release, that burden that you feel lifted from you when you forgive. And so that is why you forgive. It's not for the grace of the other person. And by no means assume that, they're getting away with it. There's, you don't know what they're going through. And there is a certain karmic thing that happens when people do terrible things. So I always say, just give it up to God. Don't even worry about getting, revenge or anything like that. But for yourself, how do you feel? What are you carrying around? What do you need to let go? What do you need to understand? And I know one of the reasons I avoided even just talking about Mother's Day in the past is because what I gotta say, right? So I don't have a relationship with my mother. She didn't raise me. And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people have been raised by their grandmas, aunties. I was raised by my great aunt. So that's like my grandma's sister. And so we have these other mother figures in our lives that do fill that role, but there ain't nothing like your mama. There's nothing like your actual mother. And there's a part of us that wants love from that actual person, right? So you can't, replace it with somebody it's just irreplaceable. And that really explains, when you understand that and you know that's natural, it really helps you to forgive even yourself for holding on to disappointment, holding on to anger. Abandonment is a big thing as well. Fear of abandonment. You think that doesn't affect how you go into relationships? It does. Like, um, I realized indirectly, like the way that I would feel in my relationships, the confidence or the independence, where you can be in a relationship but you still are your own person. Not that like clingy um, attachment where it's like that's where the fear of abandonment comes in, because you're clinging to something, you're clinging to that love that you don't want to lose. And a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of time, that does lead back to the disconnection we have with our parents. And I was listening to this conversation last week, and it was a bunch of women who were different ages, and we were talking about getting that example of how to go about relationships, how to carry yourself as a woman, how to have a relationship with a man that's healthy. Um, you expect that to come from your mother, right? You expect of all the people that are in your life, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get my first initial relationship habits, my ideas of love, my ideas of what I deserve. It comes from the people that take care of you, usually our parents. And so, yes, it does affect our adult relationships if we don't recognize and heal those patterns. Mm. But really, I think for me, the biggest relief that I feel from forgiving my mother is I was able to understand myself more. There was things that I didn't like about myself that reminded me of her, and that's why I didn't like myself, right? And so I had to forgive whoever she was. Understand that your mom, your parents, whoever they are people, right? They don't come with a guide. They don't have life figured out. A lot of our parents had kids way too early for them to be prepared in any kind of way, whether mentally, financially, emotionally. And so we have to realize you can't put yourself in their shoes literally and make a better decision, or say that you would make a better decision, because you just weren't there. You weren't in their mental state. And the mental health, of our parents, of our mothers, when they're pregnant with us, when they're raising us. Um, Hello, 501 BAM. This resonates with me. It does. It resonates with a lot of us. And I learned that, I experienced that on social media, just being a part of threads where we were talking about these things. And I was like, wow, this is like super common. Like, let's talk about this. And then I didn't want to talk about it. And it kept coming up. And I kept talking about it on the low, with one-on-one. I'm really good at one-on-one, but I don't like talking about my personal things to the public. But the reason I want to talk about this so much is um, because it's a healing moment, that we all need to share. And somebody shared a healing moment with me this week. Her and her mother just got to know each other more. Your parents are people, and we put them into this role of expectations. They're supposed to do these things, right? And those are reasonable. They really are supposed to take care of us and guide us and protect us and all that. And when they fall short of that, it's like this, unforgivable thing. Like, and you think that if you were them, you would do something different. And that's an ignorance that you just have to accept. I had to accept that I don't know what was going on in her head when she made those terrible decisions. I don't know. Actually don't know a lot of the stories. I only know one side, right? A lot of times you only get one side of the story. You never get to talk to the other person who now you have a negative idea of, because of how the story was told to you. And I just spoke to my mom very recently. So how was it? How, you want to share any more about that? You want to talk about what happened when you talked to your mom? And that was the story I was talking about. A sister just told me she just talked to her mom recently. And they had just a healing moment where they really understood each other. She forgave her mom. She's able to have a relationship, And for me, I don't know where she's at. I don't have a relationship with my mom. But to say that I'll be open to it is a huge step. Um, um, I don't think I ever said that out loud, but I am. I definitely am open to it. Um, Whereas before, I would be very cut off, um, very. Thank you for all the little hearts. It's helping. Um, yeah, I would be very cut off to the idea of even coming face to face with her, and that was because of the version of the story that I was told, and realizing that that's not the full truth, and that I am actually interested, in knowing the real truth. So for me, that's a huge step in forgiveness, to say that the door's open for you. At first, it was like a little crack in the window, not even the full door. You get a little crack. I talked to you out the window, and yeah, I'm happy that I feel that way. I'm happy that there's not a wall of disgust, or a uh, a block whenever the idea even comes, or somebody pitches the idea. I'm like, no, I ain't got time for that. Or there's just so many things, and we do put up walls. We put them up to cope, because you got to be strong. You got to keep going, and you just be putting up walls to block in those emotions. You block them in, and you think that you're blocking out, harm. You're blocking out things that could hurt you, but really you're just holding in. You're creating a box for these emotions, for these really strong emotions, and you're housing them rent free. So it's when you realize that that's in you, that's your body, that's your being, that's your health, that's your perspective on life, then it's so much easier to like make some space for understanding, to make some space for letting go. And grieving is a huge part of it. You have to grieve, because I do want a relationship with my mother, right? But there's a certain part of, I'm already past childhood, where it's that part is past, and I'm not gonna become a child and go backwards and get that back. So grieving the loss of that relationship, of not having that experience, you do have to fully accept it, and it's not that the pain's not gonna be there, the sadness isn't gonna be there, but accepting that, yes, like I do have that loss. I grieve that loss. And it's okay for you to grieve that loss. And once you're able to grieve, allow yourself to grieve, it's easier to move on from anything. But we don't think of grieving relationships as much. But if you think about it, like, that's a connection that is lost. It's a death of a union that could have been. And it happens in different degrees. Some of us don't know our parents at all. Some of us just weren't raised by our parents, like myself. Some of us have no idea, right? So there's different, or you have parents, right? But you just are not close with them. There's a lot of people who do have parents who are there, but there's still no relationship there, because the relationship takes time and energy. It takes engagement. It takes interest. And let miracles replace all grievances. That is very true. That's very true. And we have to be able to make space for those miracles. And they will, like they already have. Like, this is a miracle that I'm able to talk about it. And I was like, I'm not gonna let today go by holding my tongue again. So I'm just gonna talk about it, let it out, and I'm happy I did. And if you are holding on to any emotional energy, if you just need more understanding, if you have the resources or ability to even talk to your mom, do it. If your mom is alive and you have contact with her, then talk to her if there's something that you want to talk about, because she's an adult, you're an adult, and you guys can meet each other, with understanding. I held so much resentment that I didn't know I had until I took a look at myself. Yes, right. You think that you're good, and it's so subtle sometimes, like the resentment, the anger. And I think as grown people, we assume that we got over it and that it's not a big deal anymore because we have other shit to worry about, right? But yeah, like you hold on to it. And it's like that. People always talk about this, your inner child, and not having a parent to take care of you is your inner child's problem, right? That's a loss that your inner child feels. But you as an adult who's never addressed that pain, who's never addressed that need for healing, it's still there. And so part of us growing up and maturing spiritually is forgiving, forgiving to as much as we can, so that we can feel more whole, so that we can feel less like we're holding on to things. Um, Hello, everybody. Surrendering you and showering you with pure light, surrounding you. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you. Like, I don't even know what to talk about anymore. That's all I really wanted. That's all I want to talk about. And I'm going into, this Mother's Day, grateful for the people in my life that were like mother figures, that did raise me, that did teach me things. Even now, you're a grown ass woman, but there's women that I look up to that inspire me, right? I have sisters that inspire me. So these are the women in our life that really fill in that need for, that reflection, that motherly love reflection. And so, like I was talking about platonic love earlier in the week, like we get that a lot from our sisters. We get that motherly love, that I don't need anything from you kind of love, just because you deserve this comfort and this nurturing kind of love. And so I'm really grateful for everybody in my life that contribute to that. And also, I'm really motivated to heal. I'm like, move it along so I can push a baby out. But I'm really, really motivated to change the course of my family history. Just not even really change the course, build upon it. We've been doing good, and we're here, and I'm able to be at a place where I can consider my wellness, my health, my self-care. So they've been doing great, as far as getting me to where I need to be to get us to the next place. And we have to think of that. It's like a relay race. And so as long as you got the baton, it's your responsibility. It's up to you. And that's kind of like how I consider it. I feel grateful to be where I am. I'm happy that I can, even share those stories without any sense of shame or embarrassment. And those were things that I grew up feeling all the time. And I blame that on my mother. You're the reason I was embarrassed. You're the reason I, grew up without all these things. And that's not irrational, right? It's not irrational because, as far as we know, that's your job. But again, remembering that your parents are people, your mother is a person. And when you forgive her, when you forgive or just open up room for understanding, you can be so much easier on yourself. And you can really, it connects you to who you are versus putting a wall to block out who you are. And even though, whoever raised you could be a bad person or do bad things, but there's still a person in there, and there's still part of that person in you. Even if your parents didn't raise you, there are still traits in you that are from them. And I've seen it. I've seen people who've never met their parents, and they meet them for the first time, and it's like, you act just like your daddy. Yet, the daddy wasn't around, but we pass them on in our genes, it's genetic. And so because I was able to release that resentment and disgust, then there was no part of me that I had to be resentful and disgusted by, because my mom was in there, right? And so if I can forgive her and have room and space for her as a full person, that reflects inside me as well. And it also is going to reflect, as we continue in generations in the future, because the relationship is healed. This is how we change our family karma. This is how we change our family patterns, is we have to make an intentional effort in not passing on things that are not healthy. And yeah. So if you need to cry today, go ahead and do that. And I should have did this in the morning, but it felt good. It did feel good. I thank you guys for sharing that space with me. Um, he says, I have an idea for Mother's Day that I want to say here. I came up with the idea to capture moments with my mom and call it not moments, but moments, because we sometimes take them for granted. That is a good idea. So did you guys hear that? So he's going to capture different moments with his mom and call them moments, because those are very special moments. Like, one of the things that made me happy was there's pictures of my sister with the twins, like right when they're born, like the same day they were born, because I was there. I held them first. And just looking at her taking care of her babies, and like that was a moment, right? And she was changing the diaper. There's so many good ones. So I love that. Your mom's gonna really appreciate that. I noticed that too with parents. They really appreciate, if you guys are thinking about gifts or things to do for them, quality time is really important for parents. I would say they might like gifts too. Some parents like gifts, but I always say, like, if you can, a phone call. If you can kick it some old school, write a letter. Like, I love sending letters in the mail. So actually handwrite a letter, because they're not from the generation of everything's digital. So actually handwrite them a letter. Maybe like if you're a woman, I do like a little lipstick, kiss the paper, so they have your lip print. But yeah, do something really sweet that just shows that you appreciate them. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Showing love is free, y'all. It's so free. So have a happy Wellness Wednesday. Okay. My recommendation for anybody is to go have a good cry, because it feels good. If you're holding something in, let it out. The emotional energy needs to move. And it's a beautiful thing. Crying is a sign of strength and purification. It's the water goddess flowing through us. All right. Leave with love. I'm ready to eat. Bye. Oh my gosh. I am so happy to be done. Oh, I almost left you guys. Okay. I'm going to go now. I feel glad that I did it, because I was trying to not. And we didn't give in to our distractions today. We held strong. I love you guys. You heard my advice. Sorry, I got more into this one because it has hearts on it. The movement in the screen is a lot more engaging and there's more comments. But I knew you guys were there and I appreciate you. Thank you.